Hey friends, we are going to quickly review our critical vocabulary from Let's Dance Around the World before we continue looking more deeply into that text. So the first word we're going to talk about is rhythmic. Remember, if something is rhythmic, it has a pattern of sounds, movements, or beats that repeat. For example, the branch beat against my window in a steady, rhythmic way. It's in a pattern. Distinctive. If something is distinctive, it stands out in a way that makes it different or unusual. I would recognize her distinctive voice anywhere. So her voice is unusual and it stands out. The next one is highlight. When you highlight something, you call attention to it. The coach tried to highlight this team's successes, so he's pointing out their success. And the last one is horizontal. If something is horizontal, it is level with the ground. When a tree falls, it becomes horizontal. When it's upright, it's vertical, but when it falls and it's on the ground, it is horizontal. Next, we are going to be looking at shades of meaning for words. And remember, these words are synonyms, but even though synonyms can mean the same thing, there can be slight differences in their meaning, and shades of meaning are just those small differences between words that mean almost the same thing. So for instance, the words huge and enormous, they both mean very big, but enormous is the stronger word. That has a stronger picture in your mind when you hear that. So some examples. The first one, it rained incessantly all day. So we're focused on that word incessantly. And the next one is it rained constantly all day. They both mean that it was raining all day, but incessantly kind of has a stronger connotation. It hasn't stopped once. It sounds like whoever is saying that is maybe getting a little bit fed up with the rain. It's incessant. It's not letting up at all. So the next one, number 3, the acting was atrocious. So we're thinking about the word atrocious. Or number 4, the acting was poor. These are both not words that mean something very positive, but atrocious means it's a lot more of a strong word than poor. Atrocious is just absolutely horrible. It's so bad. Poor could just mean it wasn't their best. It's not great, but atrocious is the stronger word. It has the stronger shade of meaning. And the next two down here, I was surprised by the way he'd changed. I was flabbergasted by the way he'd changed. Which one of those two has the stronger shade of meaning? Flabbergasted is a stronger word than surprised. Surprised doesn't necessarily have as strong of a meaning as flabbergasted. Flabbergasted is like, I was so shocked I couldn't even believe it, that I'm picturing like somebody's mouth hanging open. They're flabbergasted. So that's why we want to choose our words carefully, even when we're using synonyms, thinking about what shade of meaning the word we're choosing conveys. So as we look back over Let's Dance Around the World, our focus today is going to be on text structure. And remember, there are 4 kind of main categories that could fall into. The first one is comparison and contrast, which you're finding how things are different, but also how they're alike. And the purpose is to describe how things are alike and different. Transition words, but, both, however, and. We also have cause and effect, and the purpose of this is to explain what happened and why it happened. The transition words you might see with these texts are because, so, in order to, as a result. We also have sequence, first, next, last. The purpose of this is just to explain events in the order they happened. These transition words might include before, first, next, then, last, after. And the fourth one is problem solution, and the purpose of this is to show a problem and how it is solved. Transition words for this might be problem, solution, difficulty, and the answer is. So we are going to look at a few paragraphs in Let's Dance Around the World and kind of be thinking as we're reading this which text structure that falls most in line with out of these 4. So to start, we're going to be looking at paragraph 6 on page 352 and be thinking as we read this, what text structure does the author use in paragraph 6? Tap and breakdancing are typically done by individuals performing for an audience. Folk dancing, on the other hand, is usually performed by people dancing for themselves. When they dance, most folk dancers wear special clothes, costumes that represent their culture. So, what text structure does the author use in paragraph 6? And why do they choose that one? Yeah, they are comparing and contrasting. They compare and contrast to show how tap dancing and break dancing are the same and how they are different from folk dancing. So, in what ways are tap dancing and break dancing alike? And how do they differ from folk dancing? So, tap and break dancers are individuals who they perform for an audience. But now folk dancers, they typically wear special clothes that represent their culture, and they're doing that to perform for themselves, to celebrate their culture. Next, we are going to look at paragraphs 11 and 12 on page 354. And again, be thinking about what text structure the author is using. The limbo is a competitive dance that originally came from West Africa. The limbo dancer must bend back while dancing under a horizontal pole. If the dancer is successful in passing under the pole without touching it or falling over, the pole is lowered and the dancer tries again. The dancer who goes the lowest is the winner. Brazilian capoeira blends martial arts and dance. Capoeira dancers perform acrobatic movements like jumps, kicks, flips, handstands, headstands as they move together in a fake battle. So how are the limbo and the Brazilian capoeira different from one another? It's these two dances that we are comparing and contrasting here. They come from different countries, and the limbo is a competitive dance from West Africa, and the capoeira is a dance from Brazil that blends martial arts and dance. The limbo dancer bends back under a pole, while the capoeira dancer is performing acrobatic movements in a fake battle. And how are they similar? They are both cultural dances that require a lot of skill and a lot of flexibility to perform. So find in your text and just underline it how you know this information about these texts. What's important to know about how they're similar and different. So thinking about how this text is using compare and contrast, let's go ahead and look at the writing prompt that goes along with this text. It says, in Let's Dance Around the World, you write about many different dance styles and the parts of the world where they are popular. Imagine that you have a blog where you share ideas about the performing arts. Write a blog post that compares and contrasts two of the dance styles in the text. Add a drawing or diagram to show your ideas. Don't forget to use some of the critical vocabulary words in your writing. So you plan out your writing and think about how you're going to compare and contrast the dance styles, just like this author was using that text structure. That's the text structure you're going to be using as well.